I woke up to silence this morning, and that's when I knew something was wrong. You see, when my daughter Lucy has friends over, our house never stays quiet for long. There should have been giggling from upstairs, the sound of little feet running around, maybe the TV playing cartoons too loud. Instead, I heard nothing at all. The silence felt thick, like cotton in my ears. It pressed against me from all sides as I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. I checked my phone, 8:47 a.m. The girls should have been awake by now, probably asking for pancakes or cereal. I made coffee and waited. Maybe they were still sleeping. Kids stay up late at sleepovers, right? I told myself this over and over as I sat at the kitchen table, watching the clock tick past 9 in the morning. The coffee tasted bitter and my hands wouldn't stop shaking. Every few minutes I'd look up at the ceiling, waiting to hear movement from Lucy's room. The house creaked and settled around me, but no sounds came from upstairs. No whispers, no giggles, no conversations about what to do next. By 10, I couldn't wait anymore. I climbed the stairs to Lucy's room and knocked softly on her door. "Girls, you awake in there?" No answer came back. I knocked again, harder this time. Still nothing. The wood felt cold under my knuckles. I pressed my ear against the door and listened. Complete silence. Not even the sound of breathing or shifting blankets. It was like the room was empty, but that couldn't be right. I turned the handle and pushed the door open. Lucy's room looked normal at first. Her bed was messy, blankets thrown everywhere. 3 sleeping bags lay on the floor, still zipped up tight. But something felt off about the whole scene. The air smelled wrong, not like children who had spent the night eating snacks and staying up late. That's when I noticed the sleeping bags were completely flat. Not just empty, flat like someone had pressed all the air out of them. I knelt down and unzipped the first one. Nothing inside except a faint smell I couldn't place. Sweet, but rotten, like fruit that had gone bad. The second sleeping bag was the same, empty and flat, with that strange smell getting stronger. My hands shook as I reached for the third one. When I unzipped it, that weird smell hit me like a wave. It reminded me of wet leaves mixed with something sweet and rotten, something that had been buried and dug up again. "Lucy?" I called out, my voice cracking. I checked under her bed in her closet, behind her dresser. She wasn't anywhere in the room. None of the girls were anywhere. The room felt like it had been empty for hours. I ran through the whole house calling their names. Lucy, Sarah, Maya, and Jessica. 4 10-year-old girls who had been giggling and eating pizza in my living room just 12 hours ago. I checked every room, every closet, even the garage. The house was completely empty except for me. In the bathroom, I opened the shower curtain, expecting to find them playing some kind of hiding game. Empty. The laundry room behind the washer and dryer. Empty. Even the pantry, though it was too small for 4 children to hide in. Everywhere I looked, I found nothing. My phone sat on the kitchen counter where I'd left it. I grabbed it with shaking hands and scrolled through my contacts. Sarah's mom first. The phone rang 3 times before she picked up. Each ring felt like it lasted forever. "Hello?" Carol's voice sounded tired. "Carol, it's Mike. Is Sarah home? The girls seem to have wandered off this morning." A long pause. Then Carol said something that made my stomach drop. "Mike, what are you talking about? Sarah never went to any sleepover last night. She was home with us all evening." The phone almost slipped from my hands. "What? But she was here. I saw her. I ordered pizza for all 4 girls. They watched movies until almost midnight." "Mike, are you feeling okay?" Sarah was definitely home. We watched a movie together and she went to bed early. She has that science test on Monday, remember? Maybe you should sit down." I hung up without saying goodbye. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely dial the next number. Maya's mom answered on the first ring. Her voice sounded cheerful and normal, like nothing was wrong in the world. "Hi, this is Jennifer." "Jennifer, it's Mike, Lucy's dad. Is Maya there?" "Of course she's here. She's been here all weekend. Her grandmother is visiting from out of state. Why would you think she wasn't? She came over for Lucy's sleepover last night. 4 girls total. They had pizza and watched scary movies and... Mike, Maya never left the house yesterday. She spent the whole day with her grandmother who's visiting. They baked cookies and worked on a puzzle. Are you sure you're thinking of the right day?" I ended the call and immediately dialed Jessica's house. Her father answered, and the conversation went exactly the same way. Jessica had been home all night. She never went to any sleepover. She'd spent the evening helping her dad fix their back porch. 3 different families, all saying their daughters never left home. But I remembered everything so clearly. The girls arriving around 6, each carrying a backpack and sleeping bag. Lucy showing them to her room, excited and talking a mile a minute. The pizza delivery at 7:30, 2 large pizzas that the girls devoured while watching a comedy movie. I remembered tucking them in around 11, telling them to keep the noise down and get some sleep. I remembered their whispered conversations and muffled giggles long after I'd gone to my own room. I sat at my kitchen table and tried to think. Maybe I was having some kind of breakdown. Maybe the stress from my divorce had finally gotten to me. But everything felt so real, so normal until this morning. I could still taste the pizza we'd shared. The pizza boxes. If I imagined the whole thing, there wouldn't be pizza boxes. I rushed to the kitchen trash can and lifted the lid. Empty, completely empty. I always threw the pizza boxes away before bed, but the trash can looked like it hadn't been used in days. No pizza boxes, no paper plates, no empty soda cans. My receipt drawer. I always kept receipts for a week before throwing them out. I pulled it open and searched through every piece of paper. Gas station receipt from Friday, grocery store from Thursday, hardware store from earlier in the week. No pizza receipt from last night, no receipt from anywhere yesterday. The panic started small, like a knot in my chest, then grew bigger. I ran back upstairs to Lucy's room and looked around more carefully. Her bed was made perfectly, hospital corners and all. Lucy never made her bed that well. She barely made it at all most days. Usually I had to remind her 3 times before she'd even pull the covers up. The sleeping bags looked wrong too. They weren't just empty, they looked brand new. No wrinkles, no dirt, like they'd never been used. But I remembered the girls climbing into them, zipping them up, whispering and giggling in the dark until I had to tell them twice to go to sleep. I picked up one of the sleeping bags and shook it out. A small piece of paper fell onto the floor. I grabbed it quickly. Written in crayon, in Lucy's handwriting, were 4 words. They took my friends. My legs gave out, and I sat hard on Lucy's bed. The note was real. I was holding it in my hands. The paper felt rough against my fingers, and the crayon marks were slightly waxy. This wasn't some breakdown or confused memory. Something had happened here last night. But where was Lucy? If something took her friends, where was she? Why would she leave a note but not be here to explain it? I searched the house again, this time looking for any sign that Lucy had ever existed. Her clothes were in her dresser, neatly folded in the way I always taught her. Her toys were in her toy box, some of them worn from years of play. Pictures of her covered the refrigerator, school photos, snapshots from our weekend trips, drawings she'd made for me. Everything was exactly where it should be. Her toothbrush in the bathroom, her favorite cereal in the pantry, her shoes by the front door. All the normal things that proved a child lived here part-time, except Lucy herself. I called my ex-wife, hands shaking as I dialed. She answered after 2 rings. Her voice sounded annoyed, the way it always did when I called unexpectedly. "What do you want, Mike? Is Lucy with you?" A long pause. Then she said something that made the whole world tilt sideways. "Mike, we don't have any kids together. We've been divorced for 3 years and we never had children. Are you drinking again?" The phone fell from my hands and clattered on the kitchen floor. I stared at it like it was a poisonous snake. My ex-wife's voice kept talking, but the words sounded far away and fuzzy, like she was speaking through water. No kids together. But Lucy was real. She lived here with me every other weekend. She was my daughter. I had 10 years of memories with her. 10 years of bedtime stories and scraped knees and proud moments at school plays. I ran to my wallet and pulled out my driver's license, my credit cards, anything with my name on it. Michael Thompson, single, no dependents listed anywhere. But that was wrong. I had Lucy every other weekend, and summers, and holidays. The custody agreement was in my filing cabinet upstairs. The refrigerator. I ran to it and looked at all the pictures I'd put up. Dozens of photos showing me and Lucy at the park, at the zoo, at her school events, birthday parties, Christmas mornings, vacation trips to the beach. I grabbed one and looked at it closely. The photo showed me standing alone at what looked like a school playground. No Lucy. Just me, smiling at the camera with my arm around empty air. My hand was positioned like I was holding someone's shoulder, but there was no one there. I grabbed another photo. Same thing. Me at the zoo, pointing at the elephant exhibit, talking to no one. My mouth was open like I was explaining something, but I was completely alone in the picture. In every single picture, I was alone, talking to empty space, hugging empty air, sharing moments with no one. But I remembered Lucy being there. I remembered her laughing at the monkeys, asking questions about the elephants, holding my hand as we walked through the park. I remembered her sticky fingers from cotton candy, her excited voice when she saw the tigers, her sleepy head on my shoulder during the drive home. My legs wouldn't hold me up anymore. I slid down the refrigerator door and sat on the kitchen floor, surrounded by pictures of myself doing things alone that I remembered doing with my daughter. The house felt different now. Too quiet, too clean, too empty. Like no child had ever lived here at all. The toys by the TV looked like props in a store display. The kids' cereal in the pantry might as well have been cardboard boxes. I crawled to the living room and looked around. Everything that should have been evidence of Lucy's presence looked wrong now. The toys were too clean, arranged too perfectly. The kids' movies were still in their plastic cases, like they'd never been watched. But upstairs, Lucy's room was still there. Her bed, her dresser, her toys, everything. I climbed the stairs on my hands and knees, too scared to stand up. Each step felt like it took forever. Her room looked the same as before. The sleeping bags were still on the floor. The note was still in my hand, the crayon marks real and rough under my thumb. This was real. This had to be real. I opened her toy box and started pulling things out. Dolls, games, stuffed animals. All of it looked used and loved. These weren't props or decorations. They were a real child's toys. The dolls had tangled hair from being played with. The game boxes were worn at the corners. Her favorite stuffed elephant was there, the one she'd had since she was a baby. One of its ears was chewed from when she was teething. The fabric was soft and faded from years of hugs and washing. This was real. Lucy was real. Under everything else at the bottom of the toy box, I found a photo album. Lucy had made it herself, with stickers and drawings on the cover. Her name was written in purple marker across the front. Lucy's Special Memories. Inside were pictures of us together, real pictures where we were both visible. Me pushing her on a swing at the park. Lucy blowing out candles on her 7th birthday cake. The two of us building a snowman last winter, both of us red-cheeked and laughing. Page after page of a father and daughter living their lives together. Lucy's first day of school, with me kneeling beside her on the front steps. Our camping trip last summer, both of us grinning next to our tiny tent. Halloween 2 years ago, me helping her with her costume. These pictures were different from the ones downstairs. In these ones, Lucy was real and solid in there. The colors were brighter, the images clearer. We both looked happy and alive and connected. I flipped to the last page of the album. Lucy had written something in her careful 10-year-old handwriting. My dad is the best dad in the world. I love our time together. I hope it never ends. Under her words, in different handwriting, messier, like someone was in a hurry, someone had written, "It doesn't have to." I dropped the album and backed away from the toy box. That second message wasn't in Lucy's handwriting. The letters were too sharp, too angular. Someone else had written it. Someone who had been in this house, in this room, reading Lucy's private thoughts. The smell from the sleeping bags was getting stronger. That weird mix of wet leaves and rotting sweetness. It seemed to be coming from everywhere now. The walls, the floor, even the air itself. Each breath tasted wrong, like I was breathing in decay. I needed to get out of this room. I needed to think somewhere else. But as I turned toward the door, I heard something that made me freeze in place. Footsteps in the hallway. Small footsteps, like a child walking slowly and carefully. They moved from one end of the hall to the other, then stopped right outside Lucy's door. "Lucy," I whispered. The footsteps stopped. I could see a shadow under the gap at the bottom of the door. Someone was standing there, waiting. The shadow was too still, too perfectly motionless for a real child. "Lucy, is that you, honey?" A voice answered, but it wasn't Lucy's voice. It was too deep, too old, like an adult trying to sound like a child and not quite getting it right. "Daddy, I'm home." My skin went cold. That wasn't my daughter. The voice had the right words, but the wrong feeling behind them. Like someone reading lines from a script without understanding what they meant. "Where are your friends, sweetie?" I managed to ask. "They're here too, Daddy. We're all here. We never left. We've been waiting for you to wake up." The door handle started to turn. I grabbed the first thing I could reach, a baseball bat from Lucy's sports equipment in the corner, and held it in front of me. The metal felt cold and solid in my hands. The door opened slowly. At first, I didn't see anything, just the empty hallway, dim and shadowy. Then something moved in the darkness near the floor, flowing rather than walking. It looked like Lucy, but wrong. Her skin was too pale, almost gray like old newspaper. Her eyes were too big and too dark, like holes cut in her face. When she smiled, her teeth looked sharp and too white. Her hair hung limp and lifeless around her shoulders. "Hi, Daddy. Did you miss me?" Behind her, 3 other shapes moved in the hallway. They looked like Sarah, Maya, and Jessica, but with the same wrong features. Too pale, too thin, teeth too sharp. Their movements were too smooth, like they were floating just above the floor. "We had such a fun sleepover," the Lucy thing said. Her voice echoed strangely. like she was speaking from the bottom of a well. We played games all night long. One of the other things giggled, but the sound was like glass breaking, sharp and painful and wrong. We learned so many new things about friendship. About sharing, said another one, tilting her head to an impossible angle. About taking turns, said the third, her smile stretching too wide across her face. They all stepped into the room together. Now I could see them clearly, and I wished I couldn't. They looked like the girls, but stretched and changed. Their arms were too long, hanging past their knees. Their fingers ended in points like claws. When they moved, they didn't walk normally. They sort of flowed across the floor like spilled water. We made new friends too, the Lucy thing said. Friends who live in the dark places. Friends who are always hungry for company. Always looking for more friends to play with, added the Sarah thing. Always wanting to expand the family, said the Maya thing. Always ready to welcome new members, finished the Jessica thing. I backed toward the window, still holding the baseball bat. My back hit the glass and I realized I was trapped. What did you do with the real girls? Where are Lucy and her friends? They all laughed at the same time, and the sound made my teeth hurt. It was like nails on a blackboard mixed with the screech of rusty metal. Silly Daddy, the Lucy thing said, we are the real girls. We just learned how to be better. How to be perfect friends who never have to go home, who never have to leave the fun, who never have to stop playing, who never have to say goodbye. The Jessica thing tilted her head at an angle that no human neck should bend. Bones cracked as she moved. Don't you want to play with us, Daddy? Don't you want to be a perfect friend, too? We can teach you all the games we learned, said the Maya thing. We can show you how to stop hurting, said the Sarah thing. We can help you become something better than human, said the Lucy thing. I swung the bat at the window behind me, trying to break the glass. The bat bounced off like the window was made of steel. I tried again, putting all my strength into it. Same thing. The glass didn't even crack. The house doesn't want you to leave, the Maya thing said. It likes having friends over. It gets lonely when there's no one to play with, but now it has us, and soon it will have you too. We'll be one big happy family that never has to be apart. They started moving closer. I could smell that rotten sweet scent getting stronger with each step they took. Their eyes reflected light, like animals' eyes in the dark, glowing with an inner fire that didn't look natural. We've been watching you for so long, Daddy, the Lucy thing said. Every weekend when you wished Lucy could stay longer. Every holiday when you had to say goodbye. Every time you felt alone in this big empty house. We heard you wishing. We heard you hoping. We heard you wanting a family that would never leave. We heard you crying yourself to sleep on Sunday nights. So we came to grant your wish. I realized what they meant. All those lonely nights after my divorce, wishing I had someone to come home to. Wishing Lucy could live with me full-time instead of just visits. Wishing I had a family that wouldn't disappear every Sunday evening when my ex-wife picked Lucy up. The empty house had felt so big and quiet after they left. I'd find myself setting two places at the dinner table out of habit, then having to put one away. I'd buy groceries for a family and end up throwing half of it away when it went bad. You're not real, I said, though my voice was shaking. None of this is real. Oh, we're real, the Lucy thing said. We're as real as your loneliness, as real as your sadness, as real as your need for someone to love you and never leave. The question is, said the Sarah thing, stepping closer. "Are you real?" I looked down at my hands holding the bat. My skin looked gray and thin, like old paper. I could see dark veins underneath, like ink spreading through water. The veins were moving, pulsing with something that wasn't quite blood. "The change is starting," the Maya thing said happily. "Soon you'll be just like us, perfect and happy and never alone, never hungry for love again, never wishing for something more, never disappointed by people who leave." My reflection in Lucy's mirror showed something that wasn't quite me anymore. My face was getting longer, thinner. My eyes were growing darker, the color draining out of them like water down a drain. When I opened my mouth to scream, my teeth looked sharper than they should. "Don't fight it, Daddy," the Lucy thing said, reaching out with those two long arms. "It feels so good to let go, to stop being human with all those messy feelings and needs, to stop wanting things you can't have, to stop hurting all the time, to just be with the people you love forever and ever, to never have to wake up alone again." Part of me wanted to give in. The lonely part that came home to an empty house every night. The part that missed having a family, having people who needed me, having a reason to get up in the morning besides just going through the motions. The part that was tired of pretending to be okay when people asked how I was doing, tired of eating dinner by myself while watching TV shows about families, tired of buying birthday presents for Lucy only twice a year because that's all the custody agreement allowed. But another part of me remembered something important. In the real world somewhere, there might be a real Lucy, a real daughter who needed her real father to come home someday, who needed him to stay human and flawed and real. I thought about the photo album in the toy box. Those pictures had been real. The love in them had been real. Lucy's smile as she blew out birthday candles, her excited face on Christmas morning, her hand in mine as we walked through the zoo. "No," I said, and my voice sounded stronger. "I won't let you take that from me." The four things stopped moving toward me. The Lucy thing's face twisted into something angry and hurt, like a child who'd been told no for the first time. "But Daddy, we love you. We'll never leave you. We'll never grow up and move away. We'll never get busy with our own lives and forget to call. Isn't that what you wanted?" I wanted my real daughter, not some copy that pretends to be her. "We can be her. We can be better than her. We'll never disappoint you or hurt you or choose someone else over you." "No," I said again. "You can't, because you don't have her heart." I dropped the baseball bat and walked toward them. They backed away, looking confused and almost frightened. Their confidence was cracking, showing something desperate underneath. "Lucy laughed when she was happy and cried when she was sad," I said. "She got frustrated with homework and excited about ice cream. She was perfectly, beautifully human, with all the mess that comes with being human. We can do all those things too," the Sarah thing said. But she sounded less sure now. Her voice wavered like she was trying to convince herself. "No, you can't. You can copy how she looked and try to sound like her. But you don't know what it feels like to be her. You don't know what it's like to love someone so much it hurts when they're gone. You don't know what it's like to be proud of someone even when they make mistakes. To worry about them when they're not with you. To want them to be happy even if that happiness doesn't include you." The four things were pressed against the wall now, looking smaller and less solid than before. Their edges were getting fuzzy, like they were losing focus. That hurt, that loneliness, that missing someone, That's what makes love real, I continued. You can't have the love without the pain. They come together. The joy of having someone special means accepting the sadness when they're not there. But the pain hurts, the Lucy thing said, and for a moment she sounded almost like a real child, confused and scared and wanting comfort. Yes, it does, but it's worth it. The real Lucy is worth it. All the real people in the world are worth it. Even when they leave, especially when they leave, because that's what makes the time together precious. The room started to shake. The walls flickered like a TV with bad reception. Sometimes I could see Lucy's room. Sometimes I could see something else. A dark place with no walls or ceiling, just shadows stretching forever in all directions. You have to let me go, I said. You have to let me go back to the real world, to find the real Lucy. But if you leave, we'll be alone again, the Maya thing said. Her voice was getting smaller, more distant. And hungry, added the Jessica thing. Always so hungry for friends and family and love. So hungry for someone to need us. I felt sorry for them then. These things that were born from loneliness and fed on the need for connection. They weren't evil exactly. They were just empty and trying to fill themselves with stolen love, borrowed emotions, copied relationships. I know you're hungry, I said, but this isn't the right kind of food. Fake love, stolen memories, copied feelings. They can't really fill you up, can they? The Lucy thing looked down at her hands. They were getting more transparent, like she was fading away. No, she whispered. It just makes us hungrier, like eating candy when you need real food. Then let me go. Let me find real love with real people. And maybe that will help somehow. Maybe knowing that real love exists will make your hunger easier to bear. Will you think of us sometimes? Asked the Sarah thing. Will you remember that we tried to love you the only way we knew how? Asked the Maya thing. Even if we got it wrong? The room shook harder. Cracks appeared in the walls, and through them, I could see normal daylight, real sunlight, warm and golden, not the cold artificial light that had been filling this space. Will you remember us? The Sarah thing asked again. Will you remember that we tried to love you? Asked the Maya thing. That we wanted to be real? Asked the Jessica thing. That we wanted to matter to someone? I nodded. I'll remember. But I'll also remember that real love is worth the risk of losing it, worth the pain of missing someone, worth the fear that they might choose someone else or grow up and move away. The Lucy thing walked up to me. She looked more like herself now, less stretched and wrong. Her eyes were getting smaller, more human. Her teeth looked normal again. Tell the real Lucy that I loved her daddy very much. I will. And tell her to hug you extra tight, because some daddies don't get any hugs at all. And some daddies forget how precious those hugs are until they're gone. I'll tell her. Tell her that every moment she spends with you is a gift. Every laugh, every tear, every ordinary Tuesday evening, watching TV together. Tell her not to take it for granted the way some people do. I'll tell her all of that. The four things smiled, and this time their smiles looked almost human. Sad but genuine, like children saying goodbye at the end of a play date. Then they began to fade like smoke in the wind. The walls around me started crumbling, pieces of fake reality falling away like old paint. The floor beneath my feet became transparent, and I could see that dark space underneath, endless and hungry. The last thing I heard was the Lucy thing's voice, distant and echoing. Goodbye, Daddy. Thank you for choosing the real love instead of the easy love. Thank you for choosing the hard truth instead of the beautiful lie. Thank you for remembering that we're not enough, that nothing fake ever could be. The room collapsed around me. The walls crumbled, the floor fell away, and I was falling through darkness toward a tiny point of light below. The air rushed past me, and I could hear echoing voices. All the lonely people in the world, all the ones who had accepted easy answers instead of fighting for real ones. I fell for what felt like hours, through layers of other people's dreams and wishes and desperate hopes. I saw glimpses of other fake families, other borrowed loves, other people who had chosen the beautiful lie over the painful truth. Finally, I crashed into the light, and everything went white. I woke up on my living room couch. Sunlight was streaming through the windows, real and warm on my face. My phone was buzzing on the coffee table next to me. The sound was normal, ordinary, beautifully real. I picked it up with shaking hands. A text message from my ex-wife. Mike, Lucy wants to know if she can call you today. She had a weird dream about you and wants to make sure you're okay. She seemed really worried. I started crying then. Big, messy tears that felt like they were washing something poisonous out of my system. Lucy was real. She was safe. She was thinking about me. She'd had a dream too, which meant somehow we'd shared this experience. I called her immediately. She answered on the second ring, and her voice sounded exactly right. Young and clear and perfectly, beautifully human. Daddy, I had the strangest dream about you last night. What kind of dream, sweetheart? You were in this empty house, and there were these things that looked like me and my friends, but they weren't really us. They were like shadows pretending to be people. And you chose to save the real me instead of keeping the fake me. It was scary, but also kind of beautiful. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. Lucy, I need you to know something. I love you exactly as you are. The real you with all your moods and problems and wonderful, messy humanity. Even when I'm grumpy, especially when you're grumpy. Even when I don't want to clean my room, even then. Even when I grow up and don't need you as much. Even then, sweetheart. Especially then. I love you too, Daddy. Even when we're apart. Even when it makes us both sad sometimes. Especially then, I said. Daddy, can I come visit this weekend? I miss you, and I want to make sure you're really okay. Of course you can. I miss you too. Can we order pizza and watch movies? Absolutely. And can I bring my sleeping bag and sleep on your floor like a real sleepover? I almost said no, then caught myself. Yes, but just you this time, okay? Okay. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, Lucy. More than you'll ever know. After we hung up, I walked through my house. It looked normal now, like a single man's house with evidence of weekend visits from his daughter. Pictures on the refrigerator that showed both of us clearly and really. Toys in a basket by the TV for when she came over. A second toothbrush in the bathroom holder. Everything looked lived in and real. The pictures showed genuine moments, not posed or perfect, but authentic. Me making funny faces while Lucy laughed. Lucy with ice cream on her nose at the county fair. Both of us soaked and muddy after getting caught in a rainstorm at the park. I went upstairs to check what had been Lucy's room in the dream. Now it was my office, with a computer and filing cabinets and stacks of papers. But in the corner, there was still a sleeping bag folded neatly on a shelf, waiting for the next time Lucy wanted to have a sleepover. I picked up the sleeping bag and shook it out. A small piece of paper fell onto the floor. In Lucy's real handwriting, it said, "Thank you for choosing me, Daddy. The real me. Love, Lucy." But this note was different from the one in the dream. This one was written on regular paper with a regular pencil. The handwriting was Lucy's normal style, not the crayon scrawl from before, and at the bottom she'd drawn a little heart with a smiley face inside it. I'm keeping that note in my wallet now, next to a real picture of me and Lucy at the zoo, both of us solid and smiling and perfectly, beautifully human. In the picture, Lucy is pointing at the giraffes and saying something that's making me laugh. I remember taking that picture. I remember the weight of my phone in my hand, the warm sun on our faces, the smell of popcorn from a nearby stand. I remember Lucy insisting we take 12 pictures before we got one she liked. Sometimes, late at night when the house feels too quiet, I remember those things that offered me a family that would never leave. I remember how tempting it was to accept their fake love instead of dealing with the pain of missing the real thing. They offered me a Lucy who would never grow up, never move away, never get busy with her own life. A Lucy who would always need me, always want to spend time with me, always make me the center of her world. But then I think about Lucy's real laugh, her real hugs, her real voice on the phone asking if I'm okay. And I know I made the right choice. The real Lucy will grow up. She'll go to college and make friends and maybe fall in love and build her own life, and that will hurt sometimes. I'll miss her when she's busy with her own world. I'll worry about her when she makes mistakes. I'll feel left behind when she doesn't need me as much anymore. But she'll still be Lucy. Real, human, imperfect, beautiful Lucy. And even if she only calls once a week when she's older, those calls will mean more than 1,000 conversations with something that was only pretending to be her. Love isn't about keeping people with you forever. It's about loving them enough to let them be real. Even when being real means sometimes being apart. Even when being real means they might choose other people or other places or other priorities. Even when being real means the people you love most in the world can't always be there when you need them. But they're worth the wait. They're worth the pain. They're worth choosing the hard truth over the easy lie. They're worth believing in, even when you can't see them or touch them or hold them close. My daughter had a sleepover last night, but only in a dream born from loneliness and fed by the wish that love could be simple and safe and permanent. A dream that showed me what I might become if I stopped believing in real people and real relationships. The real Lucy is coming this weekend. We'll probably order pizza and watch movies, and she'll stay up too late giggling with excitement about being here. She'll leave her socks on the bathroom floor and forget to put her dishes in the dishwasher. She'll tell me about school and her friends and the boy she has a crush on. She'll ask for help with homework and then get frustrated when I don't understand her math problems. She'll hug me goodnight and tell me she loves me in her real voice with her real emotions. And on Sunday night, she'll go home to her mom, and I'll miss her terribly until the next time. The house will feel too big and too quiet. I'll eat dinner alone and watch TV shows that don't really interest me. But I'll know she's out there in the real world, living her real life, growing and changing and becoming the person she's meant to be. And that knowledge will carry me through the lonely nights until I see her again. And that's exactly how it should be. Because that's what real love looks like. Messy and painful and temporary and absolutely worth every second of it. The fake Lucy offered me forever. The real Lucy gives me something better. Moments that matter because they don't last forever. Love that's precious because it has to be earned and maintained and chosen every single day. I wouldn't trade that for all the perfect fake families in the world, not even for a daughter who would never leave. Especially not for a daughter who would never leave. Because real love isn't about holding on forever. It's about loving deeply enough to let go when you need to, and trusting that the love will bring you back together when it's time. My daughter is real. Her friends are real. And this weekend, we're going to have a real sleepover with real pizza and real laughter and real love. And that's the most beautiful thing in the world.